let's talk about the side of travel therapy that might be a little bit more challenging and things that help so much just to know upfront. These things could happen. This is part of being a travel therapist. The first thing is, as a travel therapist, many times the expectation is for us to hit the ground running. This isn't so much a con, it just is what it is. The facility is hiring us for a very high hourly rate, especially compared to what they're used to paying for their permanent staff. With that, what their expectation is, well, this travel therapist is gonna come in, they're already credentialed, all of that from the staffing agency. And they more or less can get a tour of the facility, get introduced to the documentation system, and then they should be able to see patients many times on the very first day. So we need to have a strong confidence, a strong skill set in seeing patients really quickly. As a travel therapist, it's gonna be much more unlikely to go into a facility and they have a whole orientation. We get to follow people around for days and days. It is a lot more fast-paced. And that first week can feel like a higher intensity because of that. If you go in knowing that, you can kind of go in just expecting it. Have your coffee before work, go in with your head in the game. You know you're getting paid higher. You know this is the expectation. And you're going to really just focus. Ask good questions, see patients you're comfortable with right away, get a feel for what the diagnoses are that you're not as familiar with, and then you have to go home that first week and maybe open up your books, take a quick online CEU course, and get familiar with those diagnoses again, because it is our responsibility as the therapist to show up and be a great, skilled therapist for them. Now, we can travel as new grads. I did. And I'll talk about new grad stuff specifically later, not in this talk at all. So there are times we go in where we didn't work in that setting, just so you have that in your head, but we always have higher expectations on us to see patients quickly. Another thing just to know up front is we do not get paid time off, and we do not get sick days that are paid either. Or you could think of it more like how PRN works a little bit, where when we go to work, we get paid for those hours, and we do get paid more than our permanent counterparts. But with that, we don't get the same benefits as the permanent counterparts. They might get 2 weeks off paid vacation, and then while we can get unlimited vacation, it's not paid. So we have to manage our money differently, and we just have to understand that going into it. We make more upfront, we can make way more over the course of the year if we work a lot, but we don't get those benefits of time off. So if you're sick, you just won't get paid. Another good expectation to have that is a harder part of being a travel therapist is, of course, we're moving around the country, and it is on us to find short-term housing. And this can be one of the most challenging parts is we say yes to a contract, we're excited to go to the area, and then we hop on the different websites and the housing is way more expensive than we thought, or there's not many houses there. Again, later I'll talk and give you great tips about how you can navigate this and have some good success, even in really hard areas. However, this is work. Every new location, you do have to find housing again, so just know it. Know it going into it. I'm a travel therapist. It's part of what I signed up for. I'm gonna have to hustle a little bit. I'm gonna have to do some research a little bit to find that housing. That's hard, but that's okay. I can do hard things. Another thing to keep in mind as a travel therapist is sometimes our contracts can get canceled. So we might sign a contract and say, we're gonna go work for you for 3 months. And that facility might find a permanent person to hire and replace us with, or maybe their census drops and they don't have the patients coming in like they expected. And so that's kind of part of the deal for them. Inside of all of our contracts, there should be a clause that says they can give us a 2-week notice, or they can give us a 1-month notice, just like we can do back to them if we need to, and they can cancel that contract. And so that's just good to know up front. So that way, when you're looking for housing, you know to put into your housing leases. If you get canceled, you can get out of the lease, so you're not stuck in a 3-month lease. But I will say that's rare. Very, very, very much the majority of the time, they work us the whole entire time. We are not canceled. But if you do this long enough, you probably will have an assignment or 2 get canceled as you go. So just know it up front. It could happen. It's not the end of the world. We all get through it. But knowing that helps you prepare prepare just in case it happens. And the last thing that's just part of being a travel therapist is we are pretty much always looking for our next job. And the more open you are to location, the easier this is. And the more specific you are, where I just need this one spot, it can sometimes be challenging for a travel therapy position to open up in just that one location you want. But this is something you have to consider. We are pretty much contract by contract. So by nature, every 3 months, we either have to decide to extend and stay where we're at if they still need us, or we have to find our next job. And so it is a lot more communication with recruiters than of course you would ever do if you're in a permanent job and you know where you're gonna work in a year. And it's learning about new jobs, it's interviewing, and so it's every few months, unless you extend, you're interviewing for new jobs. You're considering where you wanna live next. And so while that comes with adventure, new locations, it's exciting, it also is more work to constantly be looking for work. Now the work is there. So you can be a travel therapist who consistently works the whole year and doesn't have these big gaps in between your assignments if that's who you want to be and you don't want gaps, and if you're more open to location. If you're signing up for travel therapy, especially for the long term, those are great expectations to have. It's just part of the ride. It probably honestly sounds more complicated than it is. Once you get into it, it's just kind of part of your lifestyle. It's part of your life. It doesn't feel so heavy when you're in it. It almost feels a little bit fun and exciting, especially if you are a travel therapist who was kind of born to be a travel therapist. It's kind of fun, but it's also a bit more work. So I don't think any of this was ever a reason for me to not become a travel therapist. It's not really that bad, but it's really just good to know it up front. That's part of the lifestyle. Thanks so much for joining me on this video. I hope you're learning a lot and getting empowered as a travel therapist. That is my goal. I'm Laura. I was a travel therapist for a long time, and I'm the founder of Nomadicare.com. So you can go to Nomadicare.com. You can get matched with vetted recruiters. You can search the job board and see all the pay packages. You can do pay comparisons or read blogs, but that resource is free and it's out there for travel therapists to not get taken advantage of. And please like, subscribe to this video, leave a comment if you want, and we'll write you back. And join us for more videos where I'll keep teaching you all about this industry so you can feel confident and go out there and travel.